Hello, everybody. Welcome back in. Happy Hump Day. Welcome back into another edition of Prime Sports World. And this is the last team in the AFC West. They're going to do the season preview for Kansas City Chiefs, the Arrowhead, Kansas City. I've been David Huppin. Right there is Mr. TJ Hopkins. We're going to be joined here shortly by CEO of Prime Sports World, Mr. Israel Rivera. And TJ, I will stand by what I said yesterday, man. That countdown music is a banger. It is very, very good. I would listen to that on loop for a while. Like it's pretty damn entertaining. Pretty good stuff. But yeah, if you're looking for consistent content, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, you've come to the right place. We go live basically every single day, bringing the most up-to-date content. We have 12 teams after today to get to before the NFL season starts. We're trying to do a season preview for every single team in the NFL before that kickoff starts. But yeah, please like, share, and subscribe to the show. TJ, happy Wednesday, man. How are you, buddy?
I'm good. I'm just looking at my phone and I come across this this headline that the Kansas City Royals had 10 unvaccinated players in Toronto the other day, and it's just like, come on, people. Like, still.
Yeah,
like, come on.
Also, I am sharing the StreamYard link. So if anybody wants to join in on the show and talk a little bit Kansas City Chief football, that StreamYard link is going to be at all of the places, including Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. It is on the Prime Sports World main Facebook page. So if you're looking for the link for that StreamYard link, if you want to join the show, that is on the Prime Sports World main Facebook page. Also, again, please like, share, and subscribe to the show. TJ, still Kansas City, a little bit of a change in the offseason for damn sure. What are we expecting out of them going into 2022? As they look at the revamped offense they're going to be rolling out this season, or just in defense too. It's going to be defense is going to be slightly revamped as well.
Well, they probably feel like they let one get away against the
Cincinnati. Yeah, for sure, they definitely did.
So it's all about how do you bounce back from that, right? Like you're starting to get into a territory where 12 wins is expected.
I think, yeah. I mean, you're expected to be. I mean, this is two seasons that have ended kind of in a disappointment in a row, right? Like, I mean, you got the season before that where they kind of didn't play well at all in the Super Bowl, and then the season after last season, yeah, they absolutely let that game slip away. They didn't let Cincinnati didn't win that game. They choked that game away.
Yeah, and so you do that, and it's like so the bare like we were getting at, like the bare minimum expectation for you now, is AFC Championship, right? Like you at least have to get to the AFC Championship, and there's no Tyreek Hill this season, but the expectations are still the same. Why? Because you still have Andy Reid as your head coach. You still have Pat Mahomes as your quarterback. And you still got Travis Kelce as your tight end. So the expectations, Tyreek Hill is no longer there, right? That home run hitter, that huge offensive weapon that he is no longer there, but your expectations are still the same. So basically, you have no sympathy from anyone. From across the NFL, like your expectations are AFC Championship, at least.
Yeah. And I think this Kansas City Chiefs team offense is still going to be fairly good. So I guess we'll see what happens. Let's first talk a little. So let's get into our storylines here a little bit. First, offense. So a lot of this has to do with offseason stuff. There's a little bit very difficult to talk about Kansas City when it comes to storylines and not talk about what they did in the offseason. But first of all, offense. What do you think it's going to look like without Tyreek Hill? Tyreek Hill was a real difference maker in this offense. If you don't know, they traded Tyreek Hill for 5 draft picks, including a 2022 first-round pick and a 2023 first-round pick as well. He signed a massive extension when he got there to Miami. So yeah, it's a 2022 first, a 2022 second, a 2022 fourth, along with a 2023 fourth and a 2023 sixth rounder in exchange for the wide receiver. They've gone out and replaced him with Juju Smith-Schuster, Marquez Valdez-Scantling. Markel Hardman is probably going to have a bigger role in the offense. But what do we expect this offense to look like now that they're the thing that really separated from many other offenses is no longer there. Like the cheetah's gone. Yes, Travis Kelce's a nice player, but he doesn't really give you the same type of dynamic that a Tyreek Hill gave. Also joining us on the show is CEO of Prime Sports Women's Ezra Rivera. What's up, buddy?
What's going on, guys? What's going on?
It wasn't the Tyreek Hill dynamic. It isn't Travis Kelce's dynamic. It's the fact that having those two dudes literally forced off defenses to say, pick your poison. Do you want Tyreek Hill to carve you up, or do you want Travis Kelce to carve you up? So it's a him being gone now. Really, all right. When teams play the Kansas City Chiefs, all I really have to worry about is Travis Kelce to hurt me consistently. I'm not worried about Juju Smith-Schuster. I'm not worried about MVS. I'm not worried about Sky Moore until he actually does something in the NFL.
Yeah, is he?
The run game.
We'll get to that.
The run game has been proven to be non-existent. Like we thought Clyde Edwards-Helaire would be the punch in the run game that we needed, but he
hasn't been remotely good as a first-round pick.
But they said, and like part of that is him, part of that is Kansas City like getting away from the run game.
And he also hasn't been healthy at all. So,
And so like going into this offseason, going into the season, the offense is Travis Kelce. Right now it's Travis Kelce and a bunch of bodies, right? Like that's all we have.
They still got Josh Gordon on his roster too.
Yeah, but for what it's worth, right? Like,
yeah. Right, yeah.
Like you're missing from this, like just off this last season, right? 111 receptions, 1,239 yards, 9 touchdowns. That's what you don't have to worry about anymore in a Kansas City Chief uniform.
And they also lost Demarcus Robinson. Say what you want about Demarcus Robinson. He was an interesting player at times.
So it's definitely going to be different. It's definitely going to be an adjustment period. Asking a Juju or a Sky Moore or a Miko Hardman to replace what Tyreek Hill did for you is a tough ask. That's tough.
It's real tough.
I don't. That's a tough ask. So
there aren't that many wide receivers that are Tyreek Hill fast. Like there's a lot of wide receivers that are fast, but like Tyreek Hill has like another level of fast. So I'm not totally sure what this offense is going to look like. I expect Travis Kelce to see a lot of double coverage, and I think if you're an NFL defense, you'd be like, okay, we're going to double cover Travis Kelce. If any of those other wide receivers beat us, so be it.
So be it. I walk to the middle of the field, I shake their hand and say, "Hey, good game."
Because Travis Kelce, yes, he's a very good football player, but Tyreek Hill was absolutely like a different element to this offense that nobody else in the league had, and now you don't have that.
Like you said, I'm double teaming Travis Kelce. If I lose a game with Juju Smith-Schuster catching 175 and like 2 or 3 touchdowns, more power to you. Good luck down the road.
Izzy, thoughts?
I like a lot what you guys said. I think losing a guy like Tyreek Hill is no small feat to try to replace. But I think some of the guys that they brought in, like you mentioned Juju Smith-Schuster. You mentioned Marquez Valdes-Scantling. I mean, Marquez Valdes-Scantling is not a guy that has great route running ability, but he is a guy that can fit well into this offense by taking the top off it because we know how fast he can get in the seams, right?
It means nothing if you're going to drop everything that's thrown to you.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But I mean, if he can catch you, 6-7 touchdowns in a year, on like 50-yard throws, like big plays, then I'll take that out because that's what he is right now. That's what Marquez Valdes-Scantling is. He's not a guy that's going to catch your intermediate routes in between. He's not going to catch your medium passes. Mecole Hardman's never been that guy, and so I can see. And then obviously Sky Moore, he's unproven. We'll get to him when we talk about the draft, but. And then Josh Gordon is Josh Gordon. I mean, he's like TJ say, right? You can't get right,
Well, yeah, he hasn't been
Can't get
suspended
right.
in a hot. He hasn't been suspended in a hot minute, but yeah,
He still can't get right. Still can't get right. He still, I know he hasn't been suspended in a hot minute, but what was it, a couple years ago? He had to take a leave of absence or
Yeah.
whatever the case is, and so he, ever since his Cleveland Brown year, and he went through all that suspension. Josh Gordon is one of the wide receivers in this generation. Is a big what if, right? He's a big what if. If this guy could keep his head on his shoulders, and I know mental health, we talk a lot about it on the show, is a big thing. If he was able to have that right, Josh Gordon could be one of the best wide receivers in this generation that we'll be talking about, right? So when I look at yeah, right, should have been. So when I look at the offense, it's Travis Kelce and a lot of unknowns, right? And so I think when I'm gonna look at the bright side, since you guys are looking at the dark side, right? Since you guys are looking at all the negative things, I'm gonna look at the positive things and give the viewers, maybe some Chiefs fans, a good picture to paint. If everything goes well with this team, with what I see how they're trying to construct this offense, a guy like Sky Moore, a guy like McCole Hardman, and I'm gonna put out some stats about Sky Moore. Those are guys that are gonna open Juju up, and definitely the attention that Travis Kelce is gonna get is gonna open a guy like Juju and Marquez Valdes-Scantling up. And when you got a guy like Pat Mahomes, you paying X amount of dollars, the richest contract in NFL history, to sling you the football,
$50 million.
Yeah, Super Bowl winning quarterback. You got a guy he's going to spread the ball around. I think this offense you're going to see a lot of spreading the ball around in the open space to guys that are playmakers in open space, right? And instead of just one guy in terms of Tyreek Hill, now you have at least 2 or 3 guys that can open it up for you in space or get open in space. And a team like the Chiefs does that really well in terms of Andy Reid. Andy Reid is a great tactician when it comes to this playmaking ability. When it comes to drawing up,
I'll definitely agree with you there. I mean, if anybody can make this work, it's Andy Reid. It's Eric Bieniemy.
Yeah,
those guys are offensive gurus, offensive geniuses. So moving on from their offense, let's talk about their defense a little bit. So they lost, Tyrann Mathieu, no longer part of this team. They replaced him with Justin Reed. They signed where is it? Another corner in the offseason who's going to be probably one of the starting corners there. Quadravius Ward, for some reason he's not on their depth chart on ESPN, but he's for sure on this team. What do we expect? Quadravius Ward left this team. So Trent McDuffie.
Are you talking about
L'Jarius Sneed? Sorry. So Trent McDuffie is somebody they drafted, but what do we expect this defense to look like without, obviously Tyrann Mathieu, who led this team in tackles a few years in a row?
Ooh, just okay. So just like Tyreek Hill on the offensive side of the ball, now we got moved to a guy like Tyrann Mathieu to the defensive side of the ball. That is no small feat to replace one of the best safeties in football. I mean, Tyrann Mathieu, at one point, what was he leading? He led the team, and a couple years ago, he led the team in tackles or sacks. I mean, me and TJ talked about it. Tackles or sacks.
He may have done that. He was for sure tackles.
It was like 2 years ago, right?
He may have done that. He may have done that 2 years in a row.
2 years in a row. And me and TJ talked about it a lot. We're like, there's no goddamn way in hell that your safety should be leading your team in tackles. And that means that they just don't have the front 7 support, especially the linebacker help that the Kansas City Chiefs are supposed to, that a team is supposed to have, that are supposed to be at that caliber. When I look at their linebackers, I'm not impressed. When I look at their defensive line, I can see something there, but I'm still not as impressed. And I wasn't impressed last year until they got until they got Melvin Ingram, and it kind of changed that whole dynamic of the pass rush. This defense, I think, is going to be middle of the pack, and they're going to rely on Pat Mahomes to keep them in a lot of games. And I think that when you look at this defense, they are susceptible to letting teams run it up a little bit on them, especially like the Chargers. Maybe the Broncos, anybody who they face that has an adequate that has an adequate team that can run the football and that can throw the football with a couple good wide receivers like the Bengals or so. This team is susceptible to getting burnt. And so I'm looking at this defense and I'm a little concerned, more or less on the defensive side. I'm more concerned on defense than offense, actually, in my opinion.
I agree with you, actually. I mean, Nick Bolton had a good rookie season. He's a nice player, but if Frank Clark, Chris Jones, and George Karlaftis cannot generate consistent pass rush off the edges, this secondary is going to struggle. You're asking Trent McDuffie, a rookie, to really seal up a lot of those holes. Ladarius Sneed was not all that good last season. Yeah, this is a secondary I think is in like I would if I was a Kansas City Chiefs fan, I'm looking at this defense outside of Nick Bolton, Frank Clark, Chris Jones, and Karlaftis. I'm pretty concerned. All right, their linebacking core is kind of meh. Their secondary outside of Justin Reed is a lot of unknown. I'm pretty concerned about this defense. I think they're going to get in a lot of shootouts, and they're going to be relying on Patrick Mahomes to save the day constantly. Put it, as TJ likes to say, he's got to put on that Superman cape and save games for this team, which he's more than capable of. But
he is, but yeah, and that's a lot of pressure on George Karlaftis because he ain't nothing but a rookie too, right? Like,
the Greek freak of the NFL.
So it's the Tyrann Mathieu thing. Like when he was leading the team in tackles, it was like one or two things. Like he was either like the opposing team's running backs was either getting to the third level, or they just had him playing a bunch of defenses in the box. Like he was just in the box a lot, which is probably what it was because it's nobody else could really tackle outside of him.
Yeah, he was playing that rover. He was playing a lot of that rover position, right?
He was in the box. What's his name? Frank Clark is more than capable of being that running mate next to 6'7" Chris Jones. Like that dude is. How many defensive tackles do you know that's 6'7"? Like bro, like that's
it's not a small human being.
That's not normal. Something about that is not normal at all.
The only guy that comes to mind is the guy that was playing in Jacksonville a few years ago, and that you know what I'm talking about. Godly, what's his name? His name's escaping me, but yeah, there's not many big guys like that in the NFL.
But Nick Bolton has kind of solidified himself as like I think Nick Bolton is like what you call it, like he's gonna be the signal caller now on defense. Like he's pretty much earned that role. That's a big role for a second year player now. I mean, a lot of guys had that responsibility as rookies. Like we saw Roquan Smith do that as a rookie, and so on and so forth. But the defense, I can see why y'all say like that's like there's cause for concern. Like Trent McDuffie's a rookie. Out of Washington. Out of Washington.
Two rookies.
You got a couple rookies in the secondary. And L'Jarius Sneed is a second-year player. Jalen Watson's a rookie out of Washington State. Joshua Williams is a rookie out of Fayetteville State. Like Zane Anderson's a rookie out of BYU. He's a safety. You signed Deion Bush from Chicago. He's another safety. So you still got Juan Thornhill, Justin Reed. So it's I don't know. Like they got their work cut out for them.
I agree with you. I think the defense is. If I have a concern, it's their defense, and it's also the third storyline here we're following. It's their offensive line. So we know where we got left tackle. We got Orlando Brown Jr. We have Joe Tooney at left guard. We probably have Creed Humphrey at center, but the right side of this offensive line is all sorts of question marks. They drafted Lucas Niang 3 years ago to be the starting right tackle. He hasn't really panned out or stayed healthy. Andrew Wiley and Trey Smith are projected to be the right tackle and right guard for this offense next season. But if you are a Chiefs fan, how concerned are you about the right side of your offensive line? The non-blind side of Patrick Mahomes, when in an offense that's going to look a little bit different without Tyreek Hill, offensive line being question marks. And who do we expect to start at right guard and right tackle?
The two names you just said until they find somebody better. Like, bro, like it's bad when you have to dust off Kyle Long, what was left of Kyle Long, to come out of retirement and play right guard for you, bro. Like that, you're down bad. Hopefully, Lucas Niang is an exception. I think he sat out the COVID year.
Yeah.
And so I don't know how much of the learning curve he's still trying to grasp, but to your point, David, he's listed as on the depth chart right now. He's listed as second string right tackle because he's hurt. So I'm assuming if he's not hurt, we can assume if he's not hurt, he's your starting right tackle, right? Like that's a fair assumption.
I think so. I mean, they definitely drafted him to be the right tackle of the future. So I think they expect him to be, he was a third-round pick in 2020. I mean, he sat out the one season because of COVID, but this guy was expected to be their starting right tackle, and he's 6'6", 39. Like, this is a guy that you want to, like, a prototypical right tackle size.
So yeah, it's a struggle because again, like we got teams in your division now that they can come at you from both sides of the field now.
Yeah, both. I mean, both the teams that are arguably at the top of your own division. I mean, the Chargers and the Raiders. They're going to be bringing it to you from both sides every single play.
Sides.
Like, you may get a slight break with Denver, but even them. I mean, they have what's his name? The kid they got Randy Gregory and Bradley Chubb on one. Yeah, I mean those. If you can't guard either one of the sides, if you have a weakness on your offensive line, you're gonna get exploited in this offseason, this season. Like Patrick Mahomes is good, but if he's getting killed because your right side of your offensive line is just trash, it's a recipe for disaster.
So
that's a young. They're young. Trey Smith still got a little bit of promise. I'll just look at it on the bright side. Trey Smith's got some promise. I mean, he was a good player. He was a good player in the SEC. And like you said, Lucas Niang was drafted for to be the right tackle. But I think when you look at the right side offensive line, at least it's your non-blind side that is the weaker part. That's why I'm gonna say is the bright side, because at least Pat Mahomes can see where it's coming from. At least they can put some max protection on that side of the line to help out the chip off. Maybe some of those good pass rushes that are going to come off on, in his peripheral, and at least that his backside is going to be protected, because Zeus Jr. is a good tackle. So I'm not worried about it. I'm not worried about his backside. So that's the only bright side that I'm going to see, because you got some unknowns down that right side of the line and some young players that aren't proven yet. So we got to wait and see what they can do in the league. So
yeah, I guess I'm mildly concerned about their offensive line. I think they'll figure it out. I do think Lucas Niang will be their starting right tackle, and I think Trey Smith or Andrew Wiley, one of those two guys, will be their starting right guard, and they'll just have to figure out a way to make it work. From there, let's talk about their draft a little bit. Round one, so Trent McDuffie, cornerback out of Washington, George Karlaftis in the first round. They traded with their own first-round pick, defensive end out of Purdue. Obviously, Izzy's favorite guy, Sky Moore, wide receiver out of Western Michigan. Brian Cook, safety out of Cincinnati. Leo Chanel, linebacker, Wisconsin. Joshua Williams, quarterback, Fayetteville State. I'm not even sure what that is. Sounds like it might be Indiana. Denari Kennard,
down south.
Yeah, Fayetteville.
Yeah, it's Arkansas. Yeah, okay. It sounds like Arkansas.
Denari Kennard, offensive tackle, Kentucky. Jalen Watson, quarterback, Washington State. Isaiah, Mokacheo, running back, Rutgers. Najee Johnson, safety out of Marshall. Marshall, the alma mater of Jared Smalley, the sports director at NBC4 in Columbus, and
Randy Moss. He gonna know about somebody we ain't know from Marshall, and Chad Pennington, and Byron Leftwich. Okay,
all right.
Good shout out, my boy.
And now Chad Pennington's son is back at Marshall. Man,
right. You know what? I'm gonna look at. Okay, so I'm gonna focus strictly on the first 5 picks. Okay, everybody else can just fall in line the way they're gonna fall in line, right? Trent McDuffie, He's a rangy corner from Washington. I like it.
DBU.
Yep, DBU. I like it. Besides Kevin King.
Get that hate
they got in my opinion, they got for what they're getting from George, from where they drafted George Kalafdis from Purdue, they're getting immense value there. Okay, that guy could have got picked in the top 20, and he got to them in at number 30, right? You said top 10, could have landed in the top 15, top 10. TJ said Sky Moore. I absolutely love Sky Moore. I'll get to it. I'll let TJ kind of and David talk about the draft as well before I get to Sky Moore in more depth.
I mean, go ahead on your Sky Moore now. I mean, go ahead.
Here, let me just finish out my 5 picks, and then you got Brian Cook, who was their other second round draft, second pick in the second round, who I like that out of Cincinnati, who was probably their second best DB next to Sauce Gardner. On that Cincinnati defense, and he's at safety. And then in round 3, you get a very good linebacker, Leo Chanel from Wisconsin. So when we talk about rookies starting on KC's defense, you're potentially going to have 4 rookies getting some type of immense playing time this year on their defense. That's a hell of a learning curve, right, TJ? But I think the future is bright when it comes to like a year or 2 down the road, 2 years down the road, maybe next year. Not next year, but 2 years from now. I think those 4 rookies that, you got Trent McDuffie, George Kalafdis, Brian Cook, Leo Chanel. I think those guys are going to be really good for this team, in my opinion, in a couple years. So I love that Leo Chanel pick. And then let me move on to Sky Moore. I'm going to give you guys a bold prediction here from Sky Moore. And I know you guys are probably going to be like, hell no. I'm going to go ahead and predict this is going to be my offensive rookie of the year. Sky Moore, right? Even though at 5'10", and he doesn't have the agility like you want to see out of a smaller wide receiver. I wouldn't say he's small. I would say he's just an inch smaller than Curtis Samuel. He's 5'10",
195. He's for sure a smaller wide receiver.
Yeah, I mean, he's about 5'10", whatever the case is. He's about in that Antonio Brown range. But Sky Moore forced the most missed tackles in FBS at 26 missed tackles. That's out of everybody that got drafted. That's out of everybody that was a wide receiver in college football, right? Out of 252 slot snaps out of 824, he had 170 yards per game. Best release in my opinion, out of all the wide receivers that were drafted. Even though all the wide receivers like Chris Olave, London, you got the Garrett Wilson, you got those guys who are more, in my opinion, more talented, got more athleticism. I don't think they have quite the release that this kid Sky Moore has. I've watched a lot of tape on him. And then most of the big plays that he had, everybody wants to say he's in a slot guy, but most of his big plays, when you look at his red radar, right? They were all on the outside. So this guy's not only a guy that you can line up on the inside, but you can line on the outside. And he's a guy that has one of the best stutter moves that I've seen, inside releases that I've seen in this draft, right? And then here's my last stat for you guys. Yards per routes run, right? On Mickey Mouse routes. And that is like leaks, screens, small like gimmies, right? 1 or 2 routes at the line, like literally at the scrimmage. It's not considering those, right? Routes that he didn't run those. He had 4.4 yards per routes that weren't run at the line. So a lot of those guys that we mentioned, they have all those receptions. They ran a lot of those bubble screen routes. They ran a lot of those leak routes. This guy, Sky Moore, didn't run a lot of those, right? At Western Michigan. So he led the whole nation in that. So this is when I look at a guy like that, when I look at a guy that can create separation, that has a good release from the line, and he's playing, and god dang, he's going to be playing with a way better quarterback than Ellerby at Western Michigan and Pat Mahomes. I think this kid's going to be the offensive rookie of the year this year. There we go.
I don't necessarily hate that prediction. And yes, David Henderson he does stalk Sky Moore on Instagram. He does. I like Sky Moore. And I think the fit with team and player is a pretty good value. And the fact that they didn't have to take a first round pick to get him. Yeah, I like the draft pick of Sky Moore. He had many people talked about him being a potential first-round pick. They get him late in the second round. That's good draft value. Trent McDuffie's a good football player. DBU, as TJ likes to say. George Karlaftis is a steal at 30. I actually kind of like everything they did in this draft. They noticed they had some big-time needs: cornerback, safety, linebacker, offensive tackle, offensive line. They addressed them during this draft, and I have zero complaints about what Kansas City did on this draft. It'll be interesting to see.
Can I mention somebody? I'm sorry about that. Can I mention one guy that they picked up, undrafted guy, Justin Ross from Clemson, right? All the potential in the world. He had so many injuries at Clemson. If that guy can get healthy, can stay healthy, and he can turn into what I believe his potential is, that will be an absolute pickup of their in the last 5
years. 6'4", 205. I mean, the dude is a massive wide receiver.
But he's got all the talent in the world. He just couldn't stay healthy at Clemson. So,
is that John Ross's brother, or are they just similar same last name?
Bro, just because folks got the same last name does not mean
I'm just asking a question. Do you think maybe he's Terrence Ross's cousin?
Terrence Ross. I'd have to look that up. He probably is John Ross's cousin. Who knows? Let's see. I love what Kansas City did in this draft. I think when we did the draft grade, it's just like a solid, like an A when it comes to the draft. I think they did a great job. TJ.
And Justin Ross is really he's still touch and go. Like when you have any type of fusion surgery on your neck/spine area, right? Like that's we already know that's a sensitive area. Like that's that one hit away from
paralyzation. Yeah.
Catastrophe, basically. So it's a low risk, it's a high reward if he is able to pan out. Again, putting all that faith and all that admiration and love into Scott Moore is all right. Better produce. I'm just throwing that out there. Like you said, all that stuff. Is he best release, all that other stuff? All right, he better produce because every DB he going up against now ain't Mac DBs.
Well, he ain't playing Northern Illinois, which is our alma mater, and he had 4 touchdowns at the end of the season at NIU. It's probably his best game of the year, over 200 yards. But when I look at let's say some competition that we can emulate that'll be probably in the pros. Didn't have a good game against Michigan, but that was the first game of the season. Nobody on Western Michigan had a good game against Michigan, and Michigan was a top 4 team in the nation. Eventually,
nobody had a good game against
Michigan. But when I look at the second game of the season against Pitt, Pitt was the ACC champion. Kenny Pickett was the first-round draft pick. All of that good stuff, and he did have a good game against Pitt. He had 11 receptions, over 120 yards, a touchdown. So he did look like he fit against some adequate competition, so to speak, against Pitt. So
David Henderson says go blue. Let's move on from the draft. Let's talk about their free agency class roster shakeup. Notable additions: Justin Reed, Juju Smith-Schuster, Marquez Valdez, Scantlin. Departures: Tyreek Hill, Cordavius Ward, Tyrann Mathieu, Melvin Ingram, Jerron Reed. That is some notable names that are leaving this team. And trying to replace them with Justin Reed, who basically they chose over Tyrann Mathieu. And Tyreek Hill, and Cordavius Ward signed with San Francisco in a kind of a shocking move. People kind of thought he was going to for sure re-sign with Kansas City. Didn't. Thoughts?
We still don't know what went down. I mean, we're starting to get little snippets here and there of what's happened between Tyreek Hill and the Kansas City Chiefs for him to just, get traded out of nowhere. It's still kind of shocking. Like when you look up and you see him talking about Tua as his quarterback and not Pat Mahomes, and he's taking some unnecessary and incendiary shots at Pat Mahomes, right? Talking about Tyreek Hill saying like Tua has thrown the best deep ball he's ever seen, the prettiest deep ball he's ever seen. I'm like, are we talking about the same?
Tua, I mean,
Sorry, you talking about the same Tua and the prettiest deep ball you've ever seen? Like, bro, like, do you? I get hyping. I get hyping your new QB up, right? But I understand that. But bro, like you did just play with Pat Mahomes.
I mean, yeah, Patrick Mahomes, if he retired today, he'd probably still make the Hall of Fame.
Like,
I mean, that's how good he's been.
Like dead ass. Like if Pat Mahomes was to just, hey, I don't want to play football no more. I just want to spend time with my wife and my newborn daughter.
Like if he decided to pull an Andrew Luck, well, he without Andrew Luck obviously doesn't have Andrew Luck obviously doesn't have the accolades that Patrick Mahomes have, but he'd be in the Hall of Fame.
In terms of retiring early, yeah. It's rookie. Well, no, he won rookie of the year. Super Bowl MVP, Super Bowl champ, MVP.
He's got the throw touchdowns in a season record. I mean,
he got a couple All Pros. Like, He get in.
By the way, guys, I'm still waiting for Andrew Luck to come back. That's how much I miss him.
Stop it. But I mean, yeah, they basically chose Justin Reed over, Tyrann Mathieu. They signed Ronald Jones II, pretty nice player. But yeah, this free agency roster shakeup is all going to hinge on if these wide receivers that they signed to replace Tyreek Hill can do half of what he used to do, or they can get some of that out of those two guys. And Justin Reed, you got some pretty big shoes to fill, man. Tyrann Mathieu was everything to this defense, and now you have to figure out how to make that work. And Melvin Ingram, when they signed Melvin Ingram last year, he gave them real spark. And not having that guy on your roster doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Like, sign him to a cheap. Like, why would we roll the dice on him again? Doesn't make any sense.
It's
and I understand they're cap strong because of the Patrick Mahomes contract, really, but
hey, that's the price of winning.
Yeah, it's true.
So I've obviously, like what I said earlier, 111 receptions, 1239, and 9 touchdowns for Tyreek Hill. Obviously, you're not asking Juju or MVS, especially MVS, to hey, Tyreek Hill gave us 111. Y'all got to give us one of y'all got to do that. Like, no. So 111 receptions, divide that by 2. That's like maybe 55, 60 catches between the two of them. They can average that.
They can do that.
1239 divided by 2, what? 8 and some change. They can do that. 9 touchdowns. All right. One gets 5, one gets 4, or both of y'all get 5. That's 10 touchdowns. That's one more touchdown that he gave us total. Like, they can do that. All right. Like, it's a matter of both of these dudes in terms of being consistent. Like, they got to be consistent. Like, they can't have 1 week where they go like 8 for 75 and a touchdown, and then the next week it's 4 catches, 50 yards.
I mean, that's been the big problem for both of these guys basically throughout their entire career, is that they've been wildly inconsistent. Basically, MVS either has a good game or he's non-existent, and Juju Smith-Schuster is either borderline Pro Bowler or he's just kind of meh.
And Izzy, I'm not gonna forget what you said, because he did, like, Juju kind of does get a pass for the last 2 years, right? Big Ben was not Big Ben. Mm-hmm. Big Ben was like Big Ben couldn't throw the ball 10 yards. He could barely, like, he just couldn't do it. Like, he was like, his arm and body was just that shot to the point where, like he just couldn't do it. MVS, no excuse, right? You spent I don't know
4 years.
What was it? Was it 4 years? Izzy,
like that, yeah.
In Green Bay,
didn't do a dang thing. I don't even know. I sometimes I didn't even realize he was out there on the field.
And he was good for 1 or 2 routes. He was either good for a quick slant or a
4 years. 4 years. The most yards he ever had in the season was 680. Most touchdowns in the season 6.
And he was supposed to be the number 2 in Green Bay.
Yeah,
supposed to be.
And this team also lost a bunch of other players on free agency that didn't put in the list. Mike Hughes is gone. Byron Bringle's no longer on this team. Austin Blythe is no longer on this team. Daniel Sorensen, whatever you think about Daniel Sorensen, he's no longer on this roster either. Darrell Williams.
Money is no longer on this roster.
Yeah, Demarcus Robinson.
They are celebrating. They are celebrating that.
Daniel Sorensen is a big one too. I mean,
He was there with the Super Bowl. He was there when he won the Super Bowl, but he was pretty bad last season.
He was there when they won the Super Bowl, but he was also the weak link. Like whenever he was in coverage, it was like throw 40, find 44, find him, go after him, and it was often beneficial for the offense whenever they target, especially last season.
Yeah,
right? Totally agree. I would agree with you guys on that. During their Super Bowl run, I thought he was really solid though.
No argument there. Moving on from their free agency roster shakeup to the schedule. And this is a doozy of a schedule. That's what you get for being a first-place team. First game of the year, they go to the Big Toaster in Arizona, take on the Cardinals. How you guys see that game shaking out?
They win this one.
Yeah, they win that one. Arizona's going to go like 2-6 in their first 8 games, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm taking Kansas City to win that game too. The Kyler Murray stuff is still undecided, and no DeAndre Hopkins. You're relying on whatever's left of AJ Green to be your number 1 wide receiver, or I guess you have Hollywood Brown, but still. Yeah, give me Kansas City. The next week, the Los Angeles Chargers come into Arrowhead for their first game in the division, first home game of the season. Do they beat the Chargers at home?
At home, yes, they do beat the Chargers at home. I think they split with the Chargers this year.
Yeah, I think I had the. I think I had a split when we did the Charger. Well, no, y'all did the Charger preview. I'm gonna take the Chiefs at home.
I'm gonna have the Chargers split with Kansas City, but it won't be this game. I think the Chargers are gonna win this game, and I think they'll lose at home. I think the Charger home field advantage is a little bit overrated right now, and I think Kansas City. I think especially with the Chargers coming in with that new offense and the new defense, I can see that giving problems, especially early in the season for Kansas City. I will have them lose this game to go to 1-1.
You'll have more Chiefs fans in LA than anything.
I think so. 100%. I think anytime the Chargers play a home game, they're going to have more of whoever they're playing against than their own fans.
Well, they'll have more of like teams that travel. Like Green Bay travels well. Dallas
Kansas City.
Well. Kansas City travels well.
Yeah.
Those fans travel well.
Then they go to Indianapolis, take on the Colts. This is where I'm going to have them pick up their second loss. So I have them lose this game to Indianapolis. Go 1-2.
Indy with you guys. I don't think I did Indy with you guys, but I'll give them a loss 2 year. I think Indy, in my opinion, is going to be like a 12-win team.
I agree with you. TJ.
I got them with I can see them losing this one. They probably going to be like they're going to be 2-2 after their first foe.
And yeah, I agree with you because we segue right into the Tampa Bay game. Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes. I think this is the first game they're going up against each other since the Super Bowl. I'm going to take Tampa Bay to win this game just because the game is in Tampa. I have the Chiefs at 1-3 in their first 4 games.
I got them at 2-2. They're 2-2. They win their first 2, lose their next 2.
Yeah, I'm right along with TJ. I think they win their first 2, lose their next 2.
Mm-hmm. The next 2 games are at home. The Las Vegas comes to Arrowhead, and then Buffalo comes to Arrowhead. How do you see these 2 games shaking out? And do you think they go into San Francisco on a 2-game winning streak, or is there somewhere a little bit of a hitch along the way?
They 3-3. They beat Vegas at home, and they lose to Buffalo.
Yeah, they beat Vegas, lose to Buffalo, but who knows, man? Because they have Buffalo's number, they have Josh Allen's number.
Not really.
Not no more.
I mean, they got spanked in the regular season by Buffalo last season, and they had one of the better playoff games
season,
ever.
But I'm talking about
this is a regular season game.
Yeah, I know, but I'm talking about what happened the last game though, that they actually played in the playoffs. That one. No, they didn't. That was a close game. What are you talking about? Godly, shoot.
No. How is that having Josh Allen's number when literally Josh Allen got 208 receiving yards from one dude? That's not having somebody's number.
Look, I mean,
both teams scored 50 points. I mean, they went to overtime.
Having somebody's number is every time you play them, you blow them out. That's not having that's
no.
And when these two teams met in the regular season, Kansas City and Buffalo stomped them into the ground.
They always seem to pull out a victory. And if I'm not mistaken, how many times has Kansas City knocked out Buffalo in the playoffs?
Twice. The last 2 years in a row, actually.
Right. So that's where I'm going at. But yeah, I like Buffalo this year anyways. to be better than them.
I'm also taking them to beat Las Vegas, and I'm gonna have them fall to Buffalo. I got them at 2-4, and then they go to San Francisco, take on the 49ers. Whoever's going to be quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers. How do you gentlemen see this game shaking out? This is in not Candlestick, whatever they call that stadium
Levi.
now. Yeah, Levi. Thank you.
Oh, I don't. Again, it's too much mystery going on in San Francisco. I gotta see the product, man. So because of that, because of the everlasting question of who's quarterbacking the San Francisco 49ers, I got to go with KC.
I'm also taking Kansas City Chiefs. Could be, the Gerdavius Ward revenge tour, but
I don't think it really matters who's the quarterback, in my opinion. I think they still beat.
It does.
I also agree with Izzy. I don't think it matters who the quarterback is. If it's Trey Lance or Jimmy Garoppolo, I think Kansas City still wins this game. Then they have their bye week, and then they have 2 games at home against 2 AFC South opponents, Tennessee and then Jacksonville come to town. Do they win both of these games on this little mini hosting of the AFC South?
Oh. They lose to Tennessee. They beat the smithereens out of Jacksonville,
though. Yeah, I think Tennessee is the team that maybe because of the Derrick Henry thing, the weak position at the linebacker, also with their safety problems. I think Tennessee is a team that could expose that. But I think Tennessee has other problems when it comes to their offense, and I think when it comes to their secondary as well. A lot of question marks going on in Tennessee for a team that went to the playoffs last season and was the number 1 seed in the AFC. So I'm gonna have Kansas City sweep both these teams and go to 5-4 coming out of the bye.
Yeah, I'm with David. They win both.
And then they go on the road in the division. They go to the Los Angeles Chargers in a beautiful SoFi Stadium, take on Justin Herbert and the Chargers. Do they come out of there with a victory? I'm going to say yes. I think they beat Los Angeles Chargers in SoFi and then lose to them in Arrowhead earlier in the season to go to 6-4.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Chargers to win this game at home. I think they split with the Chargers, split with Denver, but they sweep Vegas.
Yeah, I got them split with the Chargers. I had them split with the Raiders when we did I had the Raiders split with them when we did the Raiders preview. So.
From there, they go to they welcome in Los Angeles Rams, the defending Super Bowl champs, into their building at Arrowhead. Do they beat the Rams? Yes or no?
No.
I'm actually gonna say they do beat the Rams here.
Why?
This is one of those games that I just got them winning. I mean, it's
why?
It's one of those gut feeling. Like I'm just like I'm just going with my gut. Like when it comes to
on paper, even though the Rams are better on paper, they should win this game on the road. I just think that at this point in the season, Kansas City's 5-5 in my book. They don't have many games in which they can lose. They can't drop many more damn games. So this is a game that they have coming off a loss against the Chargers. They're gonna have to pick their big boy pants up, and they're gonna have to win a gutsy game at home. And this is games I think that they can win. I think that it'll be a close one. I think it'll be at the buzzer, in overtime. But I think Kansas City. This is one of those games. I think Travis Kelce has a nice game, actually, in my opinion. I think he attacks those linebackers. Thinks he has a good game against LA.
I'm gonna agree with you, Izzy. Although I do have concerns with Kansas City going up against this Rams team, but I agree with you. Like when it comes to they're 6-4 at this point in the season. I look at the rest of their schedule, not particularly easy. This is a game you have to win. This is a game at home. I know it's the Super Bowl champs, but you got to win this game. I'm going to go with the Kansas City Chiefs to win it. Although I do not feel great about it at all.
Me neither. I don't feel great about it at all, TJ. Trust me. I don't feel great. I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt. Honestly, I'm 50-50 on it, but they have to win this game. If they don't win this game, they're potentially going to be out. This is the game that probably decides whether they're in the playoffs or not. In my opinion, in the win-loss column.
Man, you got Cooper Kupp, Tyler Higbee, Allen Robinson.
Maybe OBJ at this point.
Maybe OBJ at this point.
Maybe.
Bro, it's just against that secondary that we literally just said is going to have a work cut out for them. That's probably going to be starting 2 rookies at corner.
Or maybe a rookie at strong safety,
Yeah,
Cincinnati,
yeah.
and then Trent McDuffie. That's who I think they're going to start in the secondary. But
And against an offensive line that's literally weak on one side.
Yeah, it's a gamble.
it's a game. Hey, like I said, TJ, I don't feel good about it. I don't feel that great about it. But I think that if anybody's going to pull off a win against a team, against a team of this caliber, it's going to
Give me
be
it's
a
not them.
Kansas City-led
It's not them.
team with
It's
Pat
not them.
Mahomes.
It's not them. Give me
Moving
the Rams.
on. Moving on to their. They go on the road.
Give me the Rams on the road about 14.
And then they go on the road for the next 3 games where they play the Super Bowl. One of the competitors in the Super Bowl, the Cincinnati Bengals, who they beat Kansas City in the AFC Championship game. Then they go to Denver and they go to Houston. Do they win all 3 of these games on the road? Yes or no?
They beat Houston. I can see them sweeping Denver. I can't see that. And I'm gonna go. Because this one's more personal. Because we literally, I don't know how much you heard. I said at the beginning, like me and David both agreed that when they played Cincinnati, they let one get away, like they had them. Right? They let one get away. So like this was personal. So can I see a scenario where they win all 3? Absolutely. Is it likely? That I don't know. Can they win all 3? Yes. Is it gonna happen? I don't know. I see them taking 2 out of the 3, and we'll get to Cincinnati. But this is the expectation now for Cincinnati fans. All right, you want to be taken seriously. This is the competition you got to face year in, year out to be considered serious.
Well, we just had the same conversation about with the secondary and who has possibly the best wide receiving core in the NFL? Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah.
I think they give them fits on Kansas City. I think Cincinnati wins that game easily. They beat Denver and they beat Houston. I have them sweeping Denver and Las Vegas.
Not to mention Cincinnati's gotten a lot better defense over the last year.
And their offensive line is much improved. I have them. So I have them at 9-5 going into these final 3 games.
I think they can win 2 out of 3. I'm gonna stick to my. I think they can win 2 out of 3. I'm gonna stick to my guns, and I'm gonna say that they still split with Denver. I still think Denver's the third best team, or maybe at this point best team in the AFC West. So I'm gonna say they split with Denver and they lose on the road against Denver. I do agree with TJ that they do take that one personal. So I do think they go on a 2-game win streak. They lose to Denver, and then they beat the Smithereens out of Houston. So, yeah.
And then they return back home for the final 2 of the last 3 games. First they go to Seattle, or Seattle comes there, and then Denver comes to Arrowhead. How do you see these 2 games ending? I see them getting 2 victories in both of these games against Seattle and Denver.
Yes, I got them winning both of those games there. And right now they're in my opinion, they're 10-6 right now.
I got them 11-5 right now, and I have them beating the Smithereens out of Seattle. I think the Denver game will be close. TJ.
Yeah, like Seattle, Seattle is just. Hey, we know, like they just said, Seattle. We know you're in the draft for a new quarterback. So what we're gonna do is, on top of giving you the hardest, like arguably the toughest division, we're going to give you a super hard schedule so we ensure that you get one of those top QBs next year.
And then the final week of the season, it wraps up with them going to the Death Star and they're Las Vegas. Do they come out of there with a W? Yes or no?
Yes. And they're going to, and like in year previous, they probably rest maybe some of their starters because they have such a lead on the division, maybe. But this year it's a different story. It's a very competitive division, and I think they need this one to get into the playoffs, and they get it, and they beat Vegas. And actually, this is a game that both teams need to win to get into the playoffs, in my opinion. And I think out of both teams, Kansas City is the better team at this point and beats Vegas and gets into the playoffs as a wild card.
David, when we did
11-6,
when we did the Raider, did I have a split, a home and home?
Yeah, I think so.
There you go.
I have the Chiefs sweeping the Raiders and the Broncos. I think the Chiefs, both these teams are going to need to win this game. This will probably be a semi-play-in game. So whoever wins this game between Vegas and the Chiefs will be in the playoffs. The other team will be at home watching it on the couch. It's like we talked about Devontae Adams watching football from his couch during the playoffs.
Yes, sir.
But I will say I take Kansas City to win this game, and I have them finishing the season 12-5. I do not think that's good enough to win the division. I think I had the Chargers at 13-4 when we did their preview a couple days ago or last week even. I think the Chargers are the best team in the AFC West by far. They're complete from top to bottom. Offensive line, defensive line, corners, wide receivers, running back, quarterback. The only question I really have is their head coach.
Yeah. Well, needless to say, I think when I look at the outlook of this division, Chargers win the division. Chiefs get in the playoffs. That is a playing game, in my opinion. I think Denver gets in the playoffs as another wild card. And then the Raiders are on the outside looking in, and Devontae Adams is crying to himself that he should have stayed in Green Bay.
Oh my God!
Oh man, the salt is real. Luckily, we're moving into the NFC North next, and I'm sure there'll be no saltiness in the NFC North.
like David, I just want to know why. It's not like they won that many Super Bowls with Devontae Adams in Green Bay. It's like they didn't win
any Super Bowls with Devontae Adams in Green Bay.
That's the point. Like he wishes he stayed in Green Bay to do what? Come up short?
Hey man, hey. At least we had a stranglehold on that division, as you guys know.
Okay. What good has it done you?
Wow, what good has it done? Super.
We were knocking. We year in, year out with 12. We are knocking at the doorstep of being in the Super Bowl.
But we are swinging into the NFC North next.
David, hold on. What good is knocking on the door if you never get in the house?
You're right about that. You're right. And there were some factors, and I contribute those factors.
What good is knocking
teams.
On the door?
I contribute those factors to special teams. You know who we picked up? No. You know who we picked up in special teams? The Raiders' old special team. The Raiders' old special teams coach, the guy Rick Bianca, who literally turned their season around, held the shit together. He's one of the best special team coordinators, coaches in the league. And I think the Green Bay Packers would have had another chance at winning the Super Bowl.
So this has been our Kansas City Chief season preview episode. We are starting in the NFC North next, where we're going to be doing the Detroit Lions, Minnesota Vikings, Green Bay Packers, and our Chicago Bears, baby. We're going to be breaking down their season previews tomorrow. We are going to be doing the Detroit Lions. I've been David Huffman. Right there is Mr. TJ Hopkins, Israel Vera, CEO of Prime Sports World. Thank you very much for joining us. Please like, share, and subscribe. If you're looking for consistent content, Prime Sports World is the place to go. Gentlemen, what do we do here at the Prime? No, the Bears don't suck. Stop it. What are we doing here on the Prime, my friends?
We bring the heat. And
we bring the heat, ladies and gentlemen.
Hey, it's okay. It's okay. I know my team trash. I know my team is trash. Why? Because they are, right? I'm not the one sitting here who's had 30 years of Hall of Fame quarterback play and can only get the one Super Bowl to show for it.
Yeah. We'll be back here tomorrow when we finally start the NFC North. I'm sure there won't be any bad blood during any of those season previews.
I'm gonna make sure some of these fans come on here for the NFC North, man. Let's go, man.
Yeah, we'll be back here tomorrow. You guys all have a good rest of your day. Take care, everybody. Be safe.
Peace out, guys.